I get lost in the language of youth, trying to talk about things that I don't know anything about, like the internet and things like that. That's why I rely on upstanding people like yourself. I can present this to a world, a modern world. Otherwise, if people all had to come and listen to me analog, there would be a huge queue spiraling out of control. So thank goodness for the digital world, although, I try and engage in it as little as possible, apart from these opportunities, to reach you, hearts and minds, and so on. Outside a public house in Bradford with all the traffic going past. The fine emporium, serving Timothy Taylors amongst a host of guest ales. You get to see classic cars and modern, roaring, snorting monsters as they speed trial up and down this road. Yet to have speed bumps, or sleeping policemen as we used to call them, installed, but they will be coming. All it needs is a couple of deaths, and then they put those things in. Let's hope not. We're the city of culture this year. We've agreed to spend £13 million on a footway to cross a road, and there's children without beds and without food in their stomachs and so on. But £13 million, a tunnel perhaps under the road may well have served as well. What I find is that with these schemes, the people who come up with them never use them. So, for instance, this chapess who's come up with this idea to put this 5-mile detour to get from one side of the road to the other on these piers, is never going to employ it as such. And the only people that will use it are the cycleway 40-mile-an-hour electric bike types who think, wow, this is a bit of a scale extra course for me. I worked for a removal firm in my youth, and it was a what you'd call a posh end removal firm. We did baby grands from one stairs to another, from one floor to another, and so on in big houses. And one of the chaps we moved was an architect to the Crown, Lutyens. And he came up with a scheme for housing people in Newcastle that involved getting rid of the terraces because they were slums, so cleared a load of those things away. And he came up with a thing called link housing, which meant that they were more expensive to buy, and they offset them by 18 inches down the row. So they weren't terraced, although they were all but terraced bar 18 inches. They were sold more expensively as link housing. Now, I moved him from a sleepy hollow in part of West Yorkshire with a nice idyllic garden that ran down to the river and a huge 17th century farmhouse. I think it had been a mill at some time. And I moved him to a modern house further up the county in a gated community of 8-bedroom or more properties with 5-car garages and so on. And this chap is never going to sleep in a link house, but it's fine for you and me.